analyze human behavior, and she realized and pointed out to me that if you wear a hat in a video, you will get a comment at some point that says "nice hat." It's inevitable.
Yeah.
And if you are bald in a video, you will at some point get a comment that says, "Hey, baldy, you're bald."
Bald and fitty. 130 is the new.
That's funny.
Well, I think.
All right, you want to hear what? You want to hear some wisdom or no?
What are you gonna read?
I'm going to read a quote from Damien by Herman Hesse.
Okay, go for it.
The point is that this God of both Old and New Testaments is certainly an extraordinary figure, but not what he purports to represent. He is all that is good, noble, fatherly, beautiful, elevated, sentimental, true. But the world consists of something else besides, and what is left over is ascribed to the devil. This entire slice of world, this entire half, is hushed up in exactly the same way they praise God as the father of all life, but simply refuse to say a word about our sexual life on which it's based, describing it whenever possible as sinful, the work of the devil. I have no objection to worshiping this God, Jehovah, far from it. But I mean, we ought to consider everything sacred, the entire world, not merely this artificially separated half. Thus, alongside the divine service, we should also have a service for the devil. I feel that would be right. Otherwise, you must create for yourself a God that contains the devil too, and in front of which you needn't close your eyes when the most natural things in the world take place. Bribed to the devil. A shit or jerking off. I feel that.
Yeah. Well, I mean, Kabbalah deals with Ein Sof, and that contains Yetzer Hara, Yetzer Tov. So, there's a lot of murders, man. I don't know what to tell you. We live in a very dangerous environment where there's so many murders. It's so crazy.
I was thinking the other day, I mean, I did hear that I think Maine is still possibly one of the safest states as far as crime, although it might be changing. But there's so much crime here, and I live in Portland, Maine, and I can't even imagine what it's like to live in Chicago, New York, D.C., even Boston. Like, there's crazy shit happening here, and I live in, like, a tiny little town. And you live in, like, a real place where, like, do you hear gunshots? Like,
Yeah,
regularly?
every summer I hear gunshots for sure.
Yeah, I mean, I hear gunshot, like, maybe once a year I might hear one gunshot, or once every 2 years. I'm like, fuck, I think that was a gun. What the fuck? Or during hunting season you hear them, but that's for hunting.
There are certain neighborhoods in Chicago where it literally sounds like Iraq, like it's a war zone, literally a war zone.
Yeah, that's crazy.
And
that's heavy duty.
Yeah, it's like I can't understand why the National Guard and the governor doesn't deploy forces to the worst neighborhoods in the summer to prevent mass shootings. It's so crazy. It's like fight the terrorists, shoot them, wage war against them. It's just the thing is, because we live in such a liberal woke society, that would be considered racial genocide, and everything, it would become political if you fight back against the gangs. It's stupid. It's like these are people who are destined for jail. Fight them now. I mean, why do we have soldiers? Why do we pay salaries and buy equipment and do all this shit if we don't enforce our own laws? So we live in a lawless state with lawless charlatans, which are really just immoral hypnotists, that are really just panderers who, are social woke political activists. Illinois is, I mean, I hope Pritzker runs for president, because then he's going to lose. And then we'll get some other governor or something, but Pritzker's got to go.
I don't know who that is.
He's a Jewish governor. He wrote the Zohar. I'm making a joke, but he didn't write the Zohar, but he has the Pritzker edition of the Zohar, which is a um, huge library of Zohar information. Okay, this is your second clip.
True. But the world consists of something else besides. And what is left over is ascribed to the devil. This entire slice of world, this entire half, is hushed up in exactly the same way they praise God as the father of all life, but simply refuse to say a word about our sexual life on which it's based, describing it whenever possible as sinful, the work of the devil. I have no objection to worshiping this God, Jehovah, far from it. But I mean, we ought to consider everything sacred, the entire world, not merely this artificially separated half. Thus, alongside the divine service, we should also have a service for the devil. I feel that would be right. Otherwise, you must create for yourself a God that contains the devil too.
So I debated a lot of Quranists last night, and I ripped into the Quran because it's such a stupid book. And so I was reading it. Have you ever read the Quran, my friend?
No, not really.
Okay, so you're gonna laugh when you actually look at it because it's so stupid. So what it is, if you go to like, I'm looking at the back, there's like, it's line by line by line, and then you look at the Arabic. And so what it is a bunch of desert stupid people creating a dictionary about concepts. And so you'll see like the verse, which is only 3 words long, and then you'll see the Arabic writing. So, they are in that book because it's the book and like the only book at that time, essentially. There weren't competing books. You see what I'm saying? So what they're doing is creating like a pictograph book of these concepts, but it's very mundane, almost like the beginning of language. Like it says they beguile, then you look at the right, and then you're like, okay, that's how you create they beguile in Arabic. Then you see the help, and you're like, oh, that's how you write the help. And then God is infinite, you're like, okay, look at that. So what it is, it's like they're creating flashcards of concepts, and it's very stupid because they plagiarized and committed copyright infringement. They took other sacred texts and took the characters and wrote their own script. So if you can't see that as a Muslim, you're full of shit, man, and you'll never shut the fuck up about it because you're political, and you'll demand that people accept it as the supreme and only and final variety. That you got that they have the updated version, but you don't. So they're fucking stupid. They're that fucking stupid that they think there's not a million other books that can compete with that program. They're so stupid. So they're dangerous in that regard.
What? Can you give me another example? I'm still not really understanding what you're saying here.
I'm just saying that they're all or nothing on the glorious Quran. And that's a very dangerous person. If you are all or nothing on one book, you're fucking stupid. Therefore, you're a danger to my well being because you believe that you are supreme and the one and only last, best, greatest thing since fucking sliced cheese. They're stupid. You see what I'm saying? They're beyond stupid. They are the definition of stupidity.
Right. Who were you debating? Somebody on Clown House?
Yeah, I was going into. We had this. Do you know Sam, the ginger, the Jewish ginger?
Yeah.
He had a room called, is Islam or are Muslims good for women or something like that. It was like it was also about Muslim rape, and so there was a guy from India who was giving countless examples of how Muslims, have impacted Indians' lives. Oh, Islam is right about women. Yeah, that was the name of it. So that's the problem with a Quranist is that they take it so literally, and it is the one and only book ever created that they are just basically automatons, non-playable characters, and thus they're very dangerous and stupid and annoying. and a waste of your time. So that's, we have a national security problem in this country. They're building huge mosques in major states, they're
And they can't fucking drive, by the way.
they
But
can't
yes, also the mosques.
they just can't look left or right. They're just one-sided and they're all or nothing, and they're essentially anti-constitution, anti-American. They're dangerous because, as you just read the rights of man and you agreed it's a powerful reframe, the Quran is also a very stupid and powerful reframe, but the danger is in that it's stupid. It's so stupid. You could read a book from 2000 years ago. 2000 years ago, and it's so much more intelligent than Quran. Quran is very stupid. It's literally rudimentary, and it's just not sophisticated. It is as if a retard wrote it. So I encourage you to actually look at it one day and to remind yourself of how stupid it is. I could read you verses right now, and you'll say, "Well, okay, great, but that's pretty basic and pretty stupid." It
I do have.
barely makes a point. It's like a concept book. I'm telling you. It's retarded.
Right, I have it here in this book. The only Quran I have is in this book, which I guess the jacket is upside down. Okay.
You can also use it for like mystical purposes because there's a lot of like mysticism in it, and you can see how it's basically like a grimoire or a magic book, but a very stupid one.
All of their quotes from Islam are from Rumi. Is that true? Rumi. Oh no, Laji. I don't have anything from the Quran. I just have. Oh, from the Quran.
Yeah, Rumi borrows a lot from the Quran, or he quotes little passages, or he doesn't. I mean, but yeah, it's amazing because you can talk about it, and that girl Brincesia on here, she'll be like, "What version of the Quran are you reading? Though that's a terrible translation." They just live and die by it. They're fucking retarded. I mean, they're stupid. And so it is thus essentially a you problem if you're going to spend all your time debating Quranists, because they're the song that never ends, and that song gets very annoying. Um, yeah,
I don't know. This seems very basic. I don't have very much here.
it's a very basic book, but the point is, people will live and die on a hill for that fucking book. That's how stupid they are, and because they have no comparison of other books, it makes them extremely stupid and dangerous. Because they will live and die on a hill for that stupid book, and it's glorious. Look at the word itself. Quran. Quran.
And what does that mean?
It's a sound.
Uh-huh.
It's a sound.
You think it's a dumb sound?
It's not dumb. It's a very powerful hypnosis, because I can go to the glorious Quran recitation room 24/7 right now, and it's very powerful hypnosis. And in every major Muslim city, they do the call to prayer multiple times a day, and it is a very powerful hypnosis. But there's just not a whole lot of meat and potatoes there. It's not a large language model. It's a compression, but it's a stupid compression. So you know, we are, as Americans, in 1776, there were a lot of Muslims. I mean, look at the first operation that we led in Montezuma. What is it? Montezuma? What is it? Where in Africa was it? From the shores of Gallipoli, right? Well, which one was it? Anyways, that was our first military operation, were to get rid of the Muslim pirates that had taken U.S. Prisoners as slaves. Shores of Montezuma. Is that it? It was the first Marine Corps action. So, we are not at war with Islam, but Islam is always in a perpetual war with outsiders and insiders. There's in-group, out-group with Islamists. And that's the thing is they refuse to have burritos, tacos, pizza, cheeseburgers. All they do is eat goat. And goat meat is okay, but who wants to eat goat meat all the time? That's my hypothesis. That's how I would convert a Muslim or an Islamist or a Quranist into taking up philosophy and essentially,
You'd say, "Hey, have a taco. You ever have a taco?"
yeah. I mean, I could say the same thing to an Orthodox Jew who only eats kosher and only reads these three books, and I could say, have you ever read Damien? What did
I met an Orthodox Jew. I think I told you this. When I went to Israel for a month, one of the guys who I was living with was 34, really nice guy. He was the only one who wore kippah. He was he was not Orthodox. He was like a conservative Jew. He wore a kippah. He kept kosher. But he had never heard of the Tanya, or he had heard of the Tanya, but he had never read it.
Mm-hmm.
And I had a copy of the Tanya, and he enjoyed it. And he also, maybe this is Lashon Hara a little bit, but he also broke many of his rules throughout the month. And then sometimes we would go to not a non-kosher restaurant. He'd be like, fuck it, I'm going to fucking get this thing here, fuck it. So, everybody breaks their own little rules.
Well, the food stuff is, oh, hey, Mike Moon. I think the food stuff is, important. It's all important. It's just, can you do it? Do you have the will? Can you optimize? Because basically by forcing yourself to be kashrut or only eat kosher food, you could look at it as a magical operation that if I eat this kosher piece of pizza, I'm going to have some type of, Y output from my X input. So that's the way you can view magical formulas, which is tied to your action. Reading a book is an action. Making a bowel movement is an action. I mean, any type of exchange, action, or change or movement, you can tie into some type of magical rationalization if you're that retarded and that crazy to do it. But this is super stupid hypnosis. We have Mike Moon here. We have Benji. We have Ben. We have my friend. We have Zenamini. We have Koss. And we have many YouTube viewers that have joined us. And so these are some of the comments on YouTube. This is kind of funny. He wrote, "Are you the analyzer? The cult is real. I live near a base. It's normal where I'm at. Soldiers don't arrest people, bro. What the fuck? Have you ever watched Idiocracy? It's basically a movie that documented the MAGA movement. Trump equals clown show. This wannabe man must not have a 401k. The Bible says the earth has only been here 10,000 years, bro. Okay. Wow, your head is reflecting light." So, Dr. Benji, thanks for putting together that show yesterday where, I really roasted Andrew, really roasted him, took it to the next level, and I thought it was fun. It's good comedy in my opinion. Did you want to say something, Zach?
No, I was just going to make fun of that. I was going to make fun of those comments.
Somebody also wrote meth 2 and then go for a jog. And a lot of highs and hellos. How was your day?
Go to the gym, fatty, go to the gym.
So the whole point, in my opinion, of philosophy is to establish and create a hypnosis of flow state or a deep state of relaxation. Let it go. Don't worry about a non-existent future. If things are okay right now, things will be okay in the non-existent future because there's only the now. And so when you get back to the now, you realize just how ridiculous people are. That they the concept of a time machine is essentially what people are doing. They're when they come on this app and they have conversations, they literally get into a DeLorean, close the door, and go at 88 miles per hour to generate enough gigawatts to go back to the year 1965, 1947, 167 BC. I mean, the projection, the history hypnosis projection game just never ends with people on this app, and it's really because they're super bored. But as the listener, when people project their imagination and you listen to their political position and how they think that they're convincing you of their political propaganda, it's a huge waste of time. It's not a waste of time if you record it though and repurpose it or replatform it onto a different platform. That's where it has value. Is that you are literally conducting a research project or an anthropological study of in-group, out-group, non-native English speakers, political repositionings or reframings. Because I think we have come to the conclusion that there's are so many foreign speakers on this app that essentially we become foreign English language tutors. It's like, I don't need to go to South Korea to become an English language teacher. I can just flick open this fucking app Clown House and I'll get sucked dry of my English with people that want to just talk because I'm a native English speaker and they have political positions. But a lot of these assholes are Americans. Anyways, welcome, Abuela, as I describe Clown House.
Glad to be here.
What do you think about the situation, Dr. Abuela?
What situation?
The situation.
I think it's beautiful.
You believe in a beautiful situation?
I do. Every situation is beautiful.
Beautiful. I love that for you. That's beautiful. Mike Moon, did you want to say anything, Mike Moon, in the Super Comedy Hypnosis Room? We all have things to do today.
I mean, not necessarily. I think your point about remaining present and that if you're okay right now, you're okay in the non-existent future for now. I think that's a really important thing to channel. I constantly live in the future and dread, I have a certain amount of money in my bank account that's not a particular lot, but it's enough for today. And I have seemed to always have enough for today, and it seemed to be that way most of my life. I don't value money in the sense that I want to collect it. So it's not like a desire of mine to get richer. And so the problem is I'm having an increasingly difficult time just having enough to be okay, to be safe and comfortable. And in the past, it seemed like that was easy to do. It seems like it's getting harder to do that. So that the stress that I feel today makes me worry about the future more than I used to. And it's just a result of things seeming to feel more difficult to maintain the status quo, I guess, if that makes any sense. So in that respect, I'm spending a lot of time in the future that I don't need to be doing in my head. And it's causing me to have stress and anxiety in the present, which if I try to directly correlate that present-minded awareness to my actual bank account today, I'm okay. I'm okay. So the question is, why do I do that to myself? And I think a lot of people do it to themselves. And you can take that same exact concept, you can apply it to
get richer, and so
Donald
richer,
Trump
and
and
so the
tariffs.
problem is
Tariffs, tariffs would be awesome. Tariffs are going to ruin things. Listen, we don't know what the fuck tariffs are going to do, but today they appear to be creating a little bit of chaos and the inability for people to predict the future as well as they usually do. And for that reason alone, present-minded people are seeing their bank account shrink because the people in charge of making those decisions are not comfortable. And so that's an example of a bunch of people predicting the future that are fucking up the present bank accounts of people that have in the past maybe been responsible enough to save money. And now they're stressing out because people are predicting the future as one way or the other. And frankly, none of us fucking know. But what we do know is that there's a lot of chaos right now, and it's difficult to not feel uneasy as a result of it. So I guess that's my summary of how I'm feeling.
Okay, so try to explore deeper into your feelings, because if you reference, fear is the only thing we have to fear, there is only the now. So what is the general angst or discomfort in your psyche? Go deeper into it.
For me, it's shame and regret for decisions I didn't make in the past to better protect myself financially for my future. And now I'm getting older, and it's becoming a little more relevant to me, whereas before I just didn't worry about it. And so for me, it's a little bit of shame and regret for not making better decisions when I was younger at this point as a 50-year-old. So that's part of what I'm feeling. And so that's a present-minded feeling that I'm having as a result of past decisions that I didn't make. Again, I'm living in the past when I think that way. At the same time, am I okay for the future? Yes, because I'm okay today. So I'm not sure why I spent so much time worrying about the future. So that anxiety, it comes from shame, regret, past speaking. It comes from a lifetime of living in a future-minded awareness instead of a present-minded awareness. Present-minded awareness is only something I discovered the potential to do, or my ability to do, very recently in my life. Like in the last 10 years, I understand the concept and have really channeled it, learned to meditate, and seeing the good benefits of that. So if I can maintain the discipline of meditating on a daily basis, it drastically improves my mental awareness. That said, I don't do it on a regular basis. And so that's my problem. But to go deeper, I was talking about this to my friend yesterday. I see a world obsessed with wealth. And I see the wealth increasingly difficult to obtain for what used to be a middle class, which is regular people. The regular people are no longer able to obtain the wealth that was a little bit, that just kind of came naturally when you were good at something in the past. That's not good enough anymore. It's more about playing a game now to get there than it is actually having legit skills that will maintain safety for your day, for your career and everything else. And so because of that, America is obsessed with wealth, but I'm not. I've never been interested in being wealthy. And in the past, that didn't hurt me to the extent that it appears to be hurting me now, because I was just really good at the things I did, and I did whatever I wanted, and I was always comfortable. And now it doesn't seem like that's enough. And that's so the psyche, it's weighing on me. It's making me second guess myself. It's making me question my own past decisions. It's making me question my present skills. And like a lot of Americans, I worry about my kids. When I look at my kids today, I worry about what's going to happen to them in the future. So going deeper in my psyche, it's creating, I'm creating my own anxieties and shame and regret and fear. It's all being created because I choose not to be obsessed with wealth, and now it seems to be biting me in the ass because I can't even stay comfortable. So the goal for most people is no longer to be wealthy. That's a pipe dream. It's becoming increasingly, the goal is just to be comfortable or to own a home someday, which is looking increasingly not likely for most, whatever's left of the middle class. And I see that as problematic. I see it as deeply problematic that the middle class is disappearing and that it's going to be just people who have everything or people who struggle to have anything. I think that's really concerning. So it's making me less proud of my country. As a former U.S. Marine, I had a ton of patriotism when I was younger. I feel that going away. And all of it is just kind of, it's disconcerting and it's sad. And so it's making it a struggle to not remain depressed. I was deeply depressed years ago. I managed to kind of pull myself out of it. And now it's just a day-to-day fight, and it's frustrating. don't think any decently smart, hardworking 50-year-old American who's worked since he was 16 years old and served his country should have to worry about paying my fucking bills on a day-to-day basis when I have essentially 2 jobs that basically earn me what used to be 1 job worth. And add to that the instability of companies not being loyal to their employees and just cutting us loose on whenever the fuck they want to for their numbers. It's a scary time for a lot of people, dude. I'm not the only one feeling it. I guarantee it.
Okay, so I can play back to you what you just said, and then we can actually, I'm not going to, but what we could do is actually analyze your words, because the belief is that you are your words. So the trick would be to get you to read a script, to reframe everything you just said. So I would encourage you to read The Rights of Man out loud and essentially reprogram yourself.
To read The Rights of Man, you said?
Yeah.
Is that a book?
It's basically a one-page statement by Aleister Crowley.
Oh, okay.
So there's something in here that says
I agree with what you're saying. There's like this certain reality that saying things makes them real, and that saying different things can make those things real as well, good and bad. So I'm increasingly agreeing with that.
Yeah, it's just programming. It's like software. It's a book. But I'm going to pin the link to the top if you want to read it out loud. I can record you reading it and play it back to you as a feedback loop. Because, you know, your words aren't going to serve you because, you know, it's just they're not strong enough. So you need a hard reset and a reprogram. Zach did it just a minute ago. You could read it out loud if you want. Click the link above, and then this room is on replay, but I will also create like a 60-second clip and send it to you. So basically you'll just be listening to yourself, but it's a powerful reframe.
Mike, you should read it.
I mean, there's other documents. Like, the thing is, there's this one statement. It says, don't fear money.
I'm going to read it. I'm actually driving right now, so I can't, but I'm probably going to take this coming exit, and then I'll read it to the room.
Okay, cool. Yeah, there's this other powerful statement. It says, don't fear money. And I think a lot of people spend so much time thinking about money, but they never really think about what's on the money. So if you study Freemasonry and you know what the sigils are, you'll know that dollars are artwork and magical instruments, or pressings of magical sigils. And so if you use the knowledge, or you have documents that are, you know, related and have information about those sigils, and you read that, that would be like a magical operation to create manifestation of dollars in your life. But there's also a double entendre there, where you could publish information about the sigils, about how to do meditation and hypnosis work, and you would actually get compensated. Like my friend earlier said, if I wear a hat on YouTube, eventually if I have enough hours on YouTube, you're going to have lots of comments about hats. But imagine if you just had a sign that said, send me money now. You know, patreon.com/send me money now.
Eventually somebody would send you money.
Yes, because all communication is hypnosis. And unless you give somebody the instructions to send you money, no one will ever send you money. So you might as well start putting out communication to send me money. And I had a small publishing business, and I got a lot of people to send me money. I had a P.O. box. Every week I'd go to the P.O. box, and there would be 50 envelopes for checks for $19.95, $29.95, $39.95, $89.95. I would go to the bank with, you know, 100 checks worth thousands of dollars every single month. And, you know, it was amazing. It was all because people were sending me money because I asked them to send me their money. They were buying a book that I wrote, but I had many books. that I was selling. And so my point is, there's ways to get out of all situations, but the only way to get out of a situation is with more information. And thus, this is the value of books and the repurposing of books, or what it really is always a communication business, and it's always essentially a hypnosis business. And if you go to YouTube, which is the modern publishing platform of the world, you will see many young people that have huge followings, and they are the updated version of my 20-year-old self, and they are making a lot of money. YouTube is sending out over $1 billion a month to its publishers. I mean, that's not true, maybe like 600 million, but the point is, there's many people making a lot of money on YouTube, and then they have ancillary businesses, and they sell books on Amazon, or they sell products and swag. But the whole point is there's a huge, tremendous body of information out there that can be repurposed, republished, and utilized personally, and then you can utilize it in a business, which is essentially the enlightenment business. And Dr. Jordan Gruber on here, who owns enlightenment.com, who does nothing with the website because he's lazy, is another good person who is exactly expressing what Mike Moon is expressing, which is, I am worried about the future because shit is getting so expensive and I can't afford to pay the fucking bills. And the property taxes are out of control. The gas and electric are out of control. Everything is expensive. I can't have one thing go wrong. Otherwise, I'm fucked and I don't have the money. But I got to get more money. So what am I going to do in my free time? Am I going to listen to Dr. Jazzy talk about this and talk about that? Or am I going to actually maybe start re-educating myself with what we call books?
All right, I'm going to read it. Hang on. I'm safely parked. Okay. Let me see. Hang on a second. Will it probably will not rotate for me, will it? No? Okay. The law of the strong. This is our law and the joy of the world. Do what thou wilt shall be the whole of the law. Thou hast no right but to do thy will. Do that, and no other shall say nay. Every man and every woman is a star. Man has the right to live by his own law, to live in the way that he wills it to do, to work as he will, to play as he will, to rest as he will, and to die when and how he will. Man has a right to eat what he will, to drink what he will, to dwell where he will, to move as he will on the face of the earth. Man has the right to think what he will, to speak what he will, to write what he will, to draw, paint, carve, etch, mold, build as he will, and to dress as he will. Man has the right to love as he will. Take your fill and will of love as ye will, when, where, and will whom ye will. Man has the right to kill those who would thwart these rights. The slaves shall serve. Love is the law, love under will.
So the love is the agape, and then will is the spirit. So what this, if you want more money and you want to extinguish the fear of the future even more, it is about like your kundalini, essentially. Like, how do we raise your positive vibrations? How do we contain your positive vibrations? How do we direct force power? So the whole thing is about creating gravity or force. But the only real way to do that is body consciousness, actually taking care of yourself, going to the gym, taking a hot bath, stretching every day, doing deep breathing every day, really caring for your body. And then outside of body consciousness is communication. So Hermes or Mercury or Jesus all deal with communication, the force of communication, the power of communication, and the prophet or the prophecy. So, you have to become a prophet essentially through communication. So just think about starting a publishing business, a communications business, a hypnosis business, an education business, a teaching business. It's one avenue of approach, but it's also for your own personal salvation and refinement. It's something to consider, which is forced communication, which is controlling communication, and that means what you're listening to, what you're reading, what you're publishing. I know you're a publisher, so you won't have any problem doing this. This is just an alternative path to get to the source on your way. There's many paths to the top of the mountain. This would be considered one approach. You have to be a mountain climber. And if you want to climb mountains, you have to use communication. That's the way to do it. Elon Musk, he's a perfect example of someone that has to learn education, conform to the laws and rules of communication, or suffer the consequences. And this guy's already worth, $600 billion, but it's all just relative. You have the same opportunity. The game and the rules are all the same for every one of us. We are all on an expiration clock. Choose wisely. This game is a chessboard. There are rules to it, but you can essentially win the game through communication. I don't think there's any other really a good way to do it. No matter what, you're stuck doing communication. Everyone has to do it. Everyone has to market. AOC, Tucker Carlson, you, my friend, everyone. Everyone's business is completely dependent on their communication. And thus why Meta and Google and Microsoft are such big businesses. Because every single smaller business has to go to those three major tech companies, including Amazon or Apple. So you got the big five tech is every single business, whether it's a muffler shop, a shawarma shop, or a photography business, is ultimately engaged in a hypnosis communication marketing business at the end of the day, because the service itself is not that complicated, but how you competitively compete to get access to the customers is the challenging part, the part that takes a long time. So I hope this has been a positive reframing and communication hypnosis for you.
It has been. Thank you. You're actually doing a kind deed here today. Like this is real shit.
He does real shit every day.
He does. I mean, in the very beginning of Clubhouse, not necessarily like years ago, I would not say that about him on a regular basis.
Well, that's it. We all thought that he was a British man named Edmund Dakin.
Yeah, he's gotten increasingly.
Once the truth was revealed, then there was no holding back. Sometimes there is no way to hold back the river.
You're a good guy, man. I like him. I always have, even when he used to rip on me.
Yeah, but you've been through boot camp. The whole part about ripping on somebody is to test the emotional waters of that person, to see how strong they really are, but then to give them that reflective insight where, I'm my own worst enemy and I'm so crazy. I'm yelling at some random person on a social audio chat app. I hope that people, because it's in people's memory, that experience, but you just hope that what you're doing, because this is like a Zen game where I keep whacking you on the head until you get the message, is that there's really no message. There's nothing to learn. It's just eat your food, make your bed, do your work, take a poop, repeat. 65 different winters and falls and and springs. I mean, you're overthinking it. Like, I could play back to you what you just said about the future and the money and the fear and all that, and you'd see that this is a game that you're playing with yourself. And so this is like the whole point is enlightenment, to get to Paradise Island, which is now. And you don't have to have any fear about the future. There is no future. There's only the next, 8-hour cycle until you go back to sleep. So this is the whole point of the universal joke or the comedy. What is it? The tragedy of the commons, or bourgeois versus proletariat. I mean, it's it's a sucker's bet, but the whole point is the communication. That's what I can't stress enough, is if you don't start working on your communication, nothing will change in the future for you. Your whole future is dependent on the programming now. Everything is now. So you have to start pulling books off the shelves and start creating programs for yourself to impact that future now. Welcome, Dr. Scott. Oh, man, I roasted Dr. Scott and Steve Appel yesterday. I got him good. What did you think about that room, Dr. Scott? Did you enjoy it? you know, it was a pretty intense hour and 20 minutes of roasting. It was a big barbecue. My friend, you weren't there. Mike, you weren't there. But it was an intense barbecue session. I was really laying into it. Don't you know how to raise your hand, Dr. Scott?
Hand raising it's turned off.
Really?
Yeah, I couldn't raise my hand. Wait, you roasted me? I didn't know. Did I hear you roast me?
You were in the room. I mean, because remember.
I heard your roast, man. What happened?
It was called Say Something Interesting, and Steve Appel came up.
Oh, yeah, I was there for that. That was great. I thought it was hilarious. You were roasting Andrew, though, mostly.
Oh, I cooked that motherfucker 10 times over. And he just devolved into a child. Did you hear him doing his baby voice?
Yeah, he was like, sitting around in your car and all day. That was great. It was great.
Yeah. Yeah, and you started talking about how Jesus was a power top. And
oh, yeah, did you like that?
That really upset him. Because why would you talk about, if you're a true believer in Christ, like, why would you say something, negative and ridiculous about Jesus? And for him, he was like, don't say perverted things to this perverted guy. It's like, damn, man. The point is
people don't understand. I don't think people get you. Like, I think, like, I have a sincere respect for, like, the shtick you're doing here. I think it's great. I think, I also think you have an interesting, serious, intellectual side that I appreciate, too. But I think...
Yeah, I mean, I also think you're mentally ill, but continue, please.
No, so I think, I don't know,
But that's the thing about, if somebody calls me mentally ill, I mean, everyone has to deal with their mental health, and everybody is on an index of mental health. It doesn't matter if you're a plastic surgeon, the governor, the president, everyone has to deal with body consciousness, your physical health and your mental health. So, the whole point is this is an insane app. You do not know people's back end, how they live, what their personal hygiene is like, what their education is, what their job is, what their savings. So everyone,
pattern recognition.
It's impossible to know, to have that back end thorough analysis of who you're communicating with. We have to judge a man on what he says. There's really no better diagnostic. And so when everything is a projection, all communication is hypnosis, and all communication is a projection. I think it's all comedy, meaning that I can laugh at everybody's shtick. And a lot of people take themselves so seriously that they don't realize that what they're doing is a form of comedy of themselves. And many people's routines here are very dry and super boring and not necessarily funny, and actually a huge waste of time. So we roasted Andrew on the fact that he has wasted years of his life. He could have read the Bible 20 times over and created an audiobook 20 times.
About that crew, though, too, I think it's very, well, I was going to say interesting, but it's the opposite of interesting. But the same people get together in those rooms to have the same arguments. So it's not just the same people or the same arguments. It's having the same arguments with the same people over and over, and no one moves, no one evolves, no one. There's just, it's the most static environment I've ever seen.
Well, that's the definition of insanity, is to keep repeating the same experiment over and getting the same shitty results. So, we've been talking about how to make money and how communication is a business. And many organizations are nothing more than communication organizations that don't actually create anything other than words. And that's a big problem, is there's no real productivity in just creating low IQ hypnosis. And Elon Musk said, you have no idea how hard it is to actually create something useful or valuable that can be commoditized or commercialized. It's very difficult. So in communication, it's an index, and 80% of it is just filler hypnosis, and maybe 20% is high value. I would say that sacred text has got to be the highest value information in that index.
By the way, it's great to see the great Mike knows. who the namesake of the Mike Moon rule. I'm a big Mike Moon fan, huge Mike Moon fan.
Likewise, Scott. Thanks, man.
But this is the thing about sacred text is what is it useful for? It's useful for creating deep relaxation response and integration or comprehension and knowledge. So it's a shortcut. And guys like Steve Appel or any devout atheist who is not interesting, and when you ask them to say something interesting, they give you a statistic about how many people are no longer believers in Jesus or Moses or Krishna or Muhammad, whatever. That's not interesting. It's not, there's no knowledge there. So the whole point about sacred text really is, again, just about creating deep and profound relaxation in oneself. And if you can create deep and profound relaxation in yourself, you can do that for other people. It makes you an effective communicator. As you know, many people on this app are completely incapable of having actual coherent conversations where when you're speaking, I'm listening, and vice versa. So there's an education problem, there's a public speaking problem. And, as warriors or knights of the realm, that sword is not for actually beheading, people. It's for communicating with people. It's force directed. And if you can create division or conflict or stir the pot, but not give anybody any actual insight into self or enlightenment, you're really just stirring the pot because you're stupid. And so a lot of pot stirs are just really miserable, unhappy people because they don't have wisdom, they don't have knowledge, comprehension, integration, and they're trying to get it, but they're so impatient and so lazy, they'll never get it. I mean, Jazzy isn't going to some Zen Buddhist monastery to do yoga and start reading the sacred texts. She views herself as sacred to such an extent where the ego and the narcissism is so toxic that she'll never get out of her pattern. She will keep doing the same stupid dance forever. And there's a lot of people. I'm just pointing out one person, which is really just many people. I'm just trying to say, to say I've broken free from the matrix is ridiculous and stupid. I'm just claiming that books.
You are the Matrix.
I'm just claiming that books are extremely valuable, and I encourage everyone to continue reading books. That's all I'm really saying.
But to that point, Scott was saying that there is no growth on here. I personally have grown on here. I mean, I've been on here a long time. I've been on here 4 years at least, but I have grown. My first year or two on here, I operated a lot like Jazzy does, under like ego and narcissism, and I sat on here and I pontificated, and maybe I had 5 people in the room, maybe I had 20 people in the room, but I was doing most of the talking. And then I kind of switched abruptly and did the opposite, and I started listening a lot, and I only come up when I'm invited, and then I only say something if I actually have something that I think is like valuable to say. I don't just talk just to talk. Jazzy is an example of somebody, she talks just to talk. She can't listen very long before she has to talk. And that, to me, on this app is an indicator that somebody is less likely to grow. Over time, I've definitely